I am Emma Loggins, FanBolt's Editor-in-Chief.
And I'm Jasmine Elise, FanBolt's Associate Editor, and we are joined today by Pretty Little Liars star and Life.love.beauty author Keegan Allen.
Hey everybody, thank you guys so much for having me here at FanBolt.
Thanks so much for joining us. So we know your book is a photographic look into your life. What initially got you interested in photography?
Well, long before I ever started my formal training as an actor, I was very into photography. And I would keep a photo journal, similar to how we all share on social media with photos instantaneously through Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all of these forums. I was using a very archaic version of that sharing, and it was in a composition notebook that I called Life and Love. And beauty was later introduced, or the element of beauty was later introduced because it's something that we all perceive differently. So I kind of got into wanting to share that at a very young age, around 10 years old. I was taking photos, and it developed into a photo journal that I've kept since then, and I've taken lots of candid on and offset photos of my peers, my colleagues, co-stars, and other people I've worked with on various productions, as well as portraiture and architecture, nature, and abstracts, along coupled with captions, just as Instagram, Facebook, all this stuff. These captions that are accompanied in the book. So St. Martin's Press has been amazing, and I kind of got to recreate the book for any of the readers that open it up, so they can kind of just flip to any page and experience something pretty personal from my life, but maybe find something retrospective in their own life.
Cool. So what can fans look forward to learning about you in this book?
I think, if anything, they're going to learn something about themselves, because the book is, even though it's very personal, it's not didactic in the way that it makes you feel something. I'm not trying to make anybody feel anything, but I do appreciate that there's an interaction, and maybe they'll learn something about, behind the scenes photos, or they'll see something about me that maybe they can latch onto or stitch to their heart. Similar to how at Tumblr, you guys have Tumblr? Mm-hmm. Do you know, like, you go through Tumblr and you see something that you like and it has a million notes on it? Mm-hmm. God, I agree with that part, I hope that kind of happens, or maybe it doesn't, and that's another wonderful thing. But these elements of our existence, we go through life as human beings, and our existence is based on these three, fundamental ideas of life, the absence of it, or the beginning of it, the creation of it. Love, the absence, the creation, all of it, falling in and out of love, and also our perception of what we believe is beautiful. So, I hope that they learn something about themselves, and they'll find out a lot of very personal things that I've went through as well.
Speaking of learning things about the fans, learning things about themselves, did you learn anything about yourself while you were doing the photography for the book?
Oh yeah. I mean, every image in the book is something that's impacted me, that's something that I wanted to share. Is when we take photos, even for social media, when we take photos for social media, we want to share that with our friends and family, or even sometimes strangers, and get their opinions on it or get their view on it. So I've always kind of enjoyed that feeling, yeah, I don't know. It's an experience to half the book is what it is, and the other half is the interaction with it. And I've learned a lot about myself in the process, going back through these film scans and going back through the journals, and reading things that I wrote when I was 14 years old, or doing romantic gestures for girls, to going out into the desert and taking self-portraits because this girl really liked Mount Whitney in California. Oh. And I wanted to do the whole contact sheet, yeah, and brought it back to her. It's like things like that. I learned a lot about myself.
Cool. So because of your love of acting and photography, do you see directing in your future ever, or maybe even directing an episode of Pretty Little Liars?
Yeah, I could see directing in my future. I definitely have a lot of things going on right now. I'm starting to work on an album. My lyrics are in the book. A lot of my poetry is coupled with music that I've composed, and most of them are really silly love songs, but I don't think I'll ever get tired of writing love songs. So, as far as directing, though, I do find myself in between takes, shooting the show, getting behind the camera and talking to the camera guys and being like, hey, so what should we do here? What should we do? And I've been able to work with really great directors of photography like Larry Reedman and Dana Gonzalez, and a slew of amazing directors. Like Norman Buckley and Leslie Glatter, and Marlene King just started directing, and she's amazing, and just tons and tons of amazing directors over the years that I've learned a thing or two about. And working with James Franco too. He's an actor, but he's also an amazing director. So I've been really, really fortunate in that sense. I don't know, maybe. Depends. I'm going to see how life pans out.
So how did your Pretty Little Liars castmates kind of show their support throughout your process of getting your book published?
Oh, no, they were so supportive.
Yeah.
And like, it makes me so emotional when I think about it, because it is a personal project, and it is really close to my heart. And all four girls have reached out on social media, or everybody's contacted me privately, and they've just been so supportive. I went to James and Gia for photos and said, hey, I have these photos I want to put in the book, and they were just like, sure, of course, they're amazing, let's do it. It's like overwhelming to just have that freedom, but I've really been fortunate to surround myself with a bunch of really creative people in that forum and in that realm of understanding what I was doing. And if somebody's in the book, it's because I have a really, really high respect for them, and I look up to them, and it's out of reverence that I've included them. So I would never put anything unflattering in the book.
Right.
But yeah, everybody's been so supportive, and they've just reached out in extraordinary ways.
So kind of jumping into show questions, can you tease anything about the finale? Will someone die?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about any of those kind of hard-hitting questions as far as the mortality of characters, but I can promise you that we get a full arc on all of these characters. Like Spencer and Toby, he's the fastest cop program ever in the history of television. He's like, I think I'm going to be a cop. Whoa! He's like in the uniform the moment he thinks of it. I did a ride-along recently with Los Angeles Police Department, and it was pretty eye-opening because I didn't really understand why Tobias would be so, conflicted over his relationship versus his job. I was like, he's a cop, it's not that hard. But then I went and did a ride-along, and I know that there's all this controversy with law enforcement recently, but I honestly think that that job is so stressful, and the anxiety is so high. I couldn't think straight, and I was only there for a couple hours. I can't imagine that being my job, my everyday wake-up job. So that added a layer to the character. But pushing forward and to answer your question, with Spencer and Toby, there's an arc. With Hannah and Caleb, there's an arc. With Emily and this new girl, Talia, there's an arc, an amazing one, and it still goes back to learning more about Allison, learning more about what's going on, what's in the barrel. But there's a reason for this, and it's a big reason that ends up explaining everything to the audience. And in true Pretty Little Liars fashion, we give the audience information, and it's for them to know and not for the characters to know. So they're sitting there on the edge of their seat, biting their fingernails, yelling at the TV because they're all so attached to these characters, because we all are so attached to these characters and the relationships, but they don't know. It's like watching fish in a fishbowl, not knowing. But it's a huge finale, and it's something we've never done before, but everyone's gonna freak out for sure.
So you and Troy are like tied for my favorite couples on the show. I love Ashley and Tyler as well.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
I love
But you guys have been having some issues on the show as far as Spencer and Toby. Can you tease a little bit more in depth about how much longer you'll kind of be going through this tumultuous period, and if you'll kind of make it out anytime soon?
Like I was saying with the cop drama,
right?
He's really conflicted over his job right now, and he's never been a character to be right or wrong. He's more of a choice and result character. I think that's why he's so riddled with misery at all times. But and why he like just bolts his. Where'd Toby go? He left town and went to like London or whatever. But I think as far as it being a continuously tumultuous relationship, it all kind of pans out in a really serious way, and there's a reason for it, and we're kind of coming up to that moment. We're getting closer and closer to that moment. But you know, it's tough. Any relationship, you know, is built on compromise and bargaining. So we'll see what happens.
So we know that you know who A is, and we know that you probably can tell us because ABC would be really upset.
Yeah, there's somebody right outside the door right now that would they're ready with like a blowgun. Say.
Take it out, man.
Can you give any sort of hints as to any of it, or tease us at all, or?
Yeah, I can tell you guys. When I found out, I was shocked, and then I proceeded to ask Marlene King how this was possible, why this happened, how did I not see it before? And it's so obvious from season 1 if you go back and you watch, and it's heartbreaking too, because when you get to it, you find out it is heartbreaking, but not in the sense that you think I'm saying it, not because it's hard. It's not. It's a different kind of heartbreaking, and it really tells it. It's an extreme story. It's pretty epic actually. So I can tell you guys that it's really epic to finally find out who's behind all this and why and what the stakes were and where it's all coming from. So
Cool. I want to know.
I've been a fan since the pilot, so I'm like ready. I'm just like, come on. So will we ever get a little bit more in depth into what happened with Toby's mother?
Probably. I mean, that storyline obviously hasn't been finished, and yeah, we're gonna get a lot of answers about everything. You know, we're gonna get a lot more answers about that and why.
Do you know who killed Mona?
Yeah.
Can you tease anything there?
No.
No.
We tried.
Tried.
So what initially attracted you to the role of Toby? Because the role's changed so much since season 1. Did you even know that it was going to be all this?
No, it's funny is I originally went in for the role of Ren, and I saw Julian Morris there, and I was like, huh, he's very British. I don't think I can pull this off. And Gail Pillsbury was like, I love you, but Julian Morris. I'm like, I agree. And then Bonnie Zane, Gail Pillsbury, casting directors for the show, called me in for the role of Toby. And they said, you know, try and read the book if you want to. And he's the Black Cat of Rosewood. He's this Boo Radley kind of character. See if you can relate to it. And I read it, and it resonated with me. I skated over to their casting office and I put on a knit cap, which is like a total no-no if you're trying to be an actor. Don't ever do this in a casting office. This is a weird fluke why I got the role. But Marlene King saw the tape, and they hired me for 6-episode arc, and they were going to kill the character because in the books, spoiler alert, if you haven't read the second book out of like 8 book series by now, I'm sorry I ruined it. But Toby dies, he kills himself. So I was, stay of execution, like, oh, thanks guys for having me, I can't wait till episode 7 when I die. But the fan base was so amazing, and that's why I think Pretty Little Liars is incredible in the sense that it's the first show in the history of television to ever fully listen to the audience in a way that we connect directly with them. They want something and they get it. And even with relationships, with characters, if they don't like someone, if they like someone, it's always been kind of driven by that fan base. So the fans were like, you can't kill Toby, we've already lost him in the books, and Marlene King's like, I love this character, and she's written an amazingly layered character. I've gotten to play all these levels of, the Boo Radley character to the moral compass, good boyfriend, to the villain, to the, all these different things that are just amazing. So, that really drew me to the role, the fact that, it continued,
So what storyline coming up before the end of the season are you most excited for fans to see?
I think the storyline it comes down to the finale, and we kind of find out. I think that it's the storyline of the show. Like, it's not this linear storyline. It's something that like of different relationships, but it's the linear storyline of Pretty Little Liars, like the show. Here's the storyline. That's what I'm looking forward to, is the final explanation for everything. Because then I love that. It's very classic cinema, and that's what our writers, Marlene King, Joseph Doherty, Oliver Goldstick, they do so well, is they do that nod to classic cinema of giving the audience the answers and letting them find out before the characters, and it's just really, it's intense. It makes for really good television.
Awesome. Well, those are all of our questions for you. We're going to have another segment coming up in just a minute, full of fan questions. So that's it for now. Make sure that you check out Life, Love, and Beauty in stores now, and of course, Pretty Little Liars, Tuesday night, ABC Family.
Thank you guys.